trans live streamer jump scare. Shoutouts. What's up? What's up, Twitch? There we go. Produce that link. I wanted to look for some links before I start streaming. I could pretend that that's why I'm late, but honestly, I just had a late lunch and I was doing, well, I I have other work to do, and I was doing some of that. Let me take care of the blinds real quick. That should be... That should net me some more favorable lighting conditions for the camera. That's good. All right. Okay. So, there are four, count them, four things that I wanted to talk about this stream. All of them I find pretty interesting, but I'm gonna get into the game before I do that. I wonder if they've implemented the skins. Ooh, wait. Have they done that yet? I don't know if ZPL in the Retro Rewind server has implemented the new skin system yet. No VR event is active. Let me back out for a minute. And I will look at the like updates channel. Retro Rewind announcements. Uh-oh, it's taken a good while to load. Let me make sure my computer isn't... Well, it is kind of shitting itself, but that's fine. Oh, that reminds me of something else I needed to do, maybe either today or this week, which is I wanted to double check the health of my drives. I don't know whether this is like normal, or a SATA SSD to be acting this way, where it periodically spikes and peaks in usage for a period of time. What was this? Let's see. New implementation, customer character skins coming soon to a Rewind near you. Okay, so it's not out yet. Probably like next couple updates that'll be a thing. So let's get into the game. I am actually looking forward to the implementation of in-game like character skin choices. That would be amazing. In fact, I know ZPL has seen at least one or two of my streams. If they ever see this, I do have some preferences for what kind of skins I want him to incorporate into the fucking thing, you know. I guess just Mario again. Guys, this fucking game's rushing me. Stop rushing me. Okay. Anybody I recognize? No. Well, Matt. I kind of recognize Matt. But otherwise, not people I recognize. So, getting into the game. Okay. Y'all remember a few streams ago when I was talking about... Oh, that skin is so sick. Is the skin system already implemented? Or is that just like something for staff only, that skin for Funky Kong? I deadass do not know. A few streams ago, well, actually a couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think at this point, I mentioned that we're gonna see some fucking energy crisis-ass conditions in America and Europe as a result of the Iran war, because the fucking Trump administration decided to get into a war in the Middle East for fun, smiley face, right? And the consequence of this, since they are utilizing all of the military knowledge and skill of a fucking wet paper towel, they didn't account for Iran blockading the Strait of Hormuz. And so now global trade has been like taken a sledgehammer to, particularly the fuel economy, which means global trade, right? All like the entire global economy depends on the availability of fuel. And I mentioned a few weeks ago that it's going to be a few weeks, but we are going to see this hit home and it's going to fucking hurt. It looks like it's actually starting to hit now. So here, let me look up average gas prices. The average gas prices have been skyrocketing. Okay. Where's the national average? Just to get like a... Yeah, okay. The current average is $4.45, thereabouts. They actually do it to 3 decimal points. But 1 week ago, the average was $4.11, national average. And 1 year ago, it was $3.16. Which, me being JD Pawn pilled, you know, like joint dictatorship of the proletariat of oppressed nations pilled, and so forth, right? I'm all for fuel being super expensive because it makes the United States feel the fucking consequences of its actions for once. But like, obviously this is fucking really bad for the American and like global fuel economies, you know? Oh damn, Usha. How's your day? I'm in the middle of a meeting. Oh, hi Gotron. My day's been pretty good. I was just starting to talk about how the gas prices have finally come home to roost after a few weeks, after a few months of this war. Finally, the supply chain consequences of the supply chain consequences of Iran blockading the Strait of Hormuz because America just decided to stick its dick in the blender are being felt. National gas prices are like, or the national average of gas prices is has been skyrocketing. And it's in a really, really bad place right now, where in the course of 1 week, the price of gas has increased by 30 cents. The average price of gas, national average price of gasoline per gallon has increased by 30 cents. Do you have any idea how insane that is? And that's just a 1 week change. If you rewind to a year ago, the price was $3.16 per gallon, national average again. But then like last week it was $4.11, and now it's like $4.40 something cents. Absolutely insane. Drove a car, I'd probably be wide-eyed, but I don't. I know it's bad, I mean, like, emotional feeling. Yeah, okay. I get, like, I mentioned on other streams, I'm gonna get to enjoy this for a bit, because I don't fly, I don't drive a car, I don't, like, and bus fares are low enough that eating an increase in fuel costs would not be the biggest deal in the world, right? So its direct effects haven't hit me yet. Right? I get to laugh at the car commuters for now, which I do intend to do, of course. But watch carefully, pay careful attention, because the next several months and years of policymaking in America, which this is going to last for years, potentially even decades, because of the magnitude of the disruption here and the unwillingness of various governments, officials, and institutions to change course. We're gonna watch countries be forced to de-automobilize, right? Countries are literally going to have to shift away from the automobile, otherwise face an even more complete form of economic collapse than they would otherwise. Right? Like, America has to choose. Either the country survives as an economic unit, or we stick with cars and car infrastructure. Like, the only answer at this point is walkable cities and, like, robust bus and train networks, which would be insanely cheap compared to how much fucking money is spent on, like, fuel and automobile infrastructure anyways. Like, it's the shit that we should have been doing from the start, but now it's like, okay, so now the country will literally die in an instant if you don't do this thing that you should have done from the start, right? This happened during the energy crisis of the 70s, where a lot of cities in the world had to make certain changes to cut down on fuel consumption, which, of course, the place they start, obviously, is with cars. Cars are just a blight on modern infrastructure. There's no other way to put it. Think about it. A car consumes a comparable amount of fuel, of energy, at a comparable price, not the same, but comparable in terms of like orders of magnitude, to a bus. A bus can transport about 30 people, probably on average. You know, a car transports like what, one person, maximum 4? Most of the time it's just one. Most of the time it's just one person per car, right? So let's say, for the sake of this example, I think this is even overselling the difference, that per gallon, the fuel that buses use is about 2 times or 3 times, let's say 2 times more, like, as expensive as the fuel that goes into a car. And a bus carries 30 times as many people as a car. That right there already is like 15 times as cost effective as a car. We are spending, like, one person driving a car is 15 times more expensive than if that person took the bus. And that's not even to consider that in order to match the capability of a bus, you would have to have fucking 30 cars on the road, which contributes so much more to pollution and the damage that roads incur over time. You know, and it creates more traffic congestion. It makes the conditions of life significantly less safe. 40,000 people die every year because of automobile-related fatalities in America, right? Cars are just more dangerous, more expensive, and worse than mass transit, right? And, like, in the 70s, a lot of countries had to reckon with that. Yeah, it legitimately, it's a system that exists at the behest of lobbying that only exists to consolidate wealth and alienate people. You know, in the 70s, a lot more countries were similarly car-centric to the United States, and it actually, like, cost them a lot. You know, that, like, a lot of countries faced a way worse shock to their economic base than America did. And so what did they do? Countries like the Netherlands, France, they pedestrianized. They decided, okay, cars are too fucking expensive. We're going to make cities accessible to people who walk or who use ground light rail, you know, who ride the tram, who ride the bus, or who just, like, ride their bike or something like that. You know, we're going to make the city accessible to that, because a city that's built for cars is a city that is far too expensive to maintain. I'm asking to get hit by a red shell again at this point. Okay, yeah, fair. I've never had that happen. That's crazy. So I think, like, ultimately this is going to herald some sort of positive economic change that makes cities more livable, but it's going to hurt a lot. You know? Because there's no fucking alternative. Do you imagine if we see people on TikTok reacting to the gas prices? I'm sure there's already plenty of video material to that effect. But I haven't seen much of it because I'm not on TikTok. I don't want that smoke. Here, let me actually look up what kind of gasoline do buses use. Oh, and only 2 of us? That's crazy. All right, Toad Circuit. This is way more complicated of an answer than I was expecting. Just fuck it, whatever. All right, here we go on the 1v1. Oh, he has 3 reds? Interesting. So far, so good. Mega in the same spot again? Sure, fuck it, why not? He's holding a blue, I just know it. Oh, never mind, you got triple reds again. Okay. I did not expect to win this 1v1, but I did. I'm out of here. I don't like 1v1s. Do not like Mario Kart 1v1s. I think it violates the spirit of the game as a fun party racing game where you drive with very large numbers of opponents. That's what I'm talking about. I remember the AX clan tags. How much I remember. I don't recognize anyone else, though. Yeah, okay. Premium, diesel. Oh yeah, diesel's insane. God, and the keep in mind, too, that the gas price national average, what would the game look like if you were racing against 99 other people? It would crash. The Wii U would not be able to handle it, I feel like. It's worth mentioning, too, consider that the national average for gas prices, as far as I'm aware, is calculated per gas station. And certainly there's an element of like proportionality there where it's like, oh, in more populated areas, you'll have more gas stations. But that doesn't exactly track. So the national average is going to be skewed downwards because the number of gas stations per person is going to be higher in rural areas than it is in urban areas, because in urban areas there are options other than cars. There are and there's also just like more people who use each gas station, right? Like think of a tiny little town in podunk nowhere with 500 people that has a gas station, and then think of a gas station in somewhere like Chicago or New York, where there are hundreds of thousands of people who use that gas station, who avail themselves of that gas station services, you know? Sure, Mario Kart Stadium is a good track. So, and there are like fewer urban areas. Well, than there are rural, like, the point I'm trying to get at is that this national average will be more reflective of rural gas prices. Even if it's not like, even if it's a little higher than those rural gas prices, it's going to be more reflective of that than it is going to be of urban gas prices. So $4.40 something cents, I think it's $4.46 or something like that. We're looking at the low end of what gas prices are right now, or like even if it's the average but not the median, if that makes sense. The median gas price, you know, accounting for like, oh, half the gas prices are higher, half them are lower. The median would be higher than the average here because of how those calculations work. And I fucking suck. Right. Okay. I just need to use this, probably. Ah, cool. Whee! I'm going to the outside. Don't worry about it. Oh, that's actually an amazing bullet bill. Okay, that was really close. Ah! What a bump. That was a crazy bump. People taking the shortcut there. Okay, they're pretty far up there. Hey, good thing I got that box when I did. Didn't get a box. That's unfortunate. It's fine though, there's a box right up here. Yep. Okay, I'll just chuck that. Oh, they hella blocked that shortcut. I missed the trick. That's unfortunate. I'm gonna chain this. Literally, no, what the fuck, where did that come from? Come on. Literally trying to steer clear of the guy with the green shell. Unless that was the same green shell and it teleported to me, which would be insane. Ugh, anyway. And back on the subject of fuel prices, fuel shortages incoming, right? There's already been some massive effects. Another thing that's going to highlight the imperative for buses and trains in the near to intermediate future, and indeed the long-term future as well, is that Spirit Airlines shut down, which is a bad fucking sign for the whole airline industry. Spirit Airlines was supposed to be, you know, past tense, fastest wiki editor in the West. The really budget airline for people who need to fly long distance. I don't know if they do overseas flights, but they do a lot of domestic flights. And the amount of domestic flights that happen is frankly ridiculous. Airline companies are not terribly profitable. They operate on extremely thin margins. More so the more budget option they are, right? So Spirit was the most vulnerable here. So the government props them up with the most insane amount of subsidies you could imagine, you know? Like, there's so many subsidies that the government gives to the airline industry in the interest of keeping air travel afloat, because without air travel, the government would have to invest in trains and shit. And there's no, like, There's no rail industry in America. It's all freight rail. There's no passenger rail. There's no interest from any fucking company to develop a rail network because that's like, that takes too long and too much effort to be immediately profitable, right? It's like, basically, oh, it's too hard. And like, we would have just as easy a time convincing the government to let us build this massive fuck-ass highway, right? Anyways, airlines were already precarious to begin with, more so with Spirit, and now because of the fuel price shocks, Spirit Airlines is done. They're like donezo. They've gone under, you know? And it's not like bankruptcy. This is different from bankruptcy. Spirit Airlines, believe it or not, had already gone bankrupt twice, and the government bailed them out both times, you know? So the government is absolutely willing to come to their aid if it comes to it. This was actually beyond anything that the government could even do at that point. Like, there was nothing the government could do to save Spirit Airlines from collapse. That's how bad it was. And the other airlines in the industry are subject to these same economic pressures, right? They have to worry about the cost of jet fuel, which is now prohibitively expensive. European airlines, like not even Spirit tier shit, like Lufthansa and those airlines are having to cancel shitloads of flights. The airline industry is dying out over this, which is a great thing from the perspective of incentivizing societies to build trains and buses and you know, not fucking spew tons of jet fuel into the atmosphere, use that fuel for better things. But it's really bad for America and to an extent like Canada as well, considering that air travel is like the only long distance mode of travel that exists. If you don't consider, like I don't, cross-country driving for several days to be like a viable option, you know? A lot of towns are gonna just become straight up stranded. There are a lot of small towns. Like I mentioned that I think I've mentioned on stream before that I went to Gettysburg College, right? Gettysburg, Pennsylvania is not a large town, right? It is, what is it? Something like 7,000 people, not that many people. And there is a Gettysburg area regional airport that, like Gettysburg, this fucking tiny ass, well, I mean, not tiny, tiny, but like pretty small town of less than 10,000 has an airport, right? And there are a lot of towns in America that are smaller than Gettysburg and will have airports and stuff. Think of all the towns in the far north, in Alaska or anywhere like that, where the only way they can like reliably get supplies ferried in is by air, you know? They're going to be shit out of luck, and there are a lot of towns that actually aren't in that situation but are destitute all the same. You know, places that are in food deserts, medical deserts in America have no like presence of bus networks or any sort of long distance transit, and soon enough aren't going to have any like air travel either. Like literally, if you don't have a car in these places, you'll just die, you know? And need I remind people that this fuel crisis, this energy crisis, is affecting automobiles as well. In fact, that's like one of the number one things that's going to be affected, because even though airlines might technically be more vulnerable, cars are the main method of transportation that people use in America to get around, you know? This is gonna like legitimately, this is gonna, it's hard to convey just how disastrous this is gonna be. And to a certain extent, we're seeing the beginning of this for the American economy. And for the global economy as well. Like all of those consequences and implications are just fuel usage in America. You know, I mentioned that like regular ass like brand name European airlines are getting really hard hit by this. And Europe was already sort of on thin ice with respect to fuel usage and fuel prices, you know? It's gonna be bad. Honestly, like, start fucking looking for carpool shit and get a bike. Seriously, get a bike. You know, get an e-bike or something. Like, I have a pedal assist e-bike and that shit's pretty good. I haven't had to use it because I live in a very walkable area, but it's good to have if I ever need to travel longer distance. And there are buses that run near me, so. Shit's great. The fucking happening is happening. If Fukuyama fucking stays winning, apparently, that America destroyed its own empire and global economic reach because it got bored. Like, that's kind of all that you can attribute this to. I passed a lot of people on that section. You know, I kind of got fucked up immediately after, but like, dang. No, I was so scared of the guy with rotating green shells. I just kind of took a dive. Oh well. All right, let me. Probably gonna try to get past this section, and then I'll use the golden mushroom. There we go. Okay, start using it now. Thank you. Give me that. Thank you very much. I'll just start using these here. I kind of want to outrun that guy who's in a star there. I don't particularly want to have to deal with them catching up to me. Okay, well, that was unfortunate. I'm getting so bummed. Oh my god. Okay. Give me around this turn. Okay, don't fuck up this section again. I really need to play catch up here. And then I can talk about the other front, the other theater of economic disaster that we are quickly barreling towards. Okay, I'll just use this here. Seems like this is as good a place to use it as any. Hopefully I get the next box. I'm not gonna get the next box, okay. It's always the next one. There we go. You want to put the nose down for that one. It helps you build more mini turbo, I think. Give me that. Yes. Perfect. Okay, use this around the spiral here. Oh, that's amazing, actually, for me. Your reds, that's pretty good. Nice defenses. Okay. Give me that. Oh, well. Couldn't get it. I think... Yeah. Cool. Now on to the next mode of economic disaster. We're fucking bouncing from one mode of collapse to the next. It's like, oh, this is a once-in-a-lifetime crash that's also happening at the same time as this other once-in-a-lifetime crash type shit. This is, like, obviously, with how related everything is to everything in economics and sociology, whatever, there's some connection between the fuel prices and the fuel crisis, what I'm about to talk about. America's national debt is bigger than the entire economy now. You notice all the people who are usually deficit hawks don't fucking talk about this anymore because they voted for Trump and they don't actually give two shits about the economic health of this country because they're more preoccupied with, I don't know, brown people or making the liberals in their lives upset generally. But yeah, the for a while the debt to GDP ratio has been expanding. America has been defined by its presence as a global debtor in the debt economy, and for a while, insofar as America could keep that position stable, it was part of what made our hegemony what it was. Economically, you know, like we owe so much money to so many people that it's in their interest to extend charitability to us as long as we can pay down the loan somewhat, you know, all the fucking finance shit, the economics and finance shit. The problem is the debt to GDP ratio was not above 100%. The national debt was not larger than the national GDP. You know, which it now is. For context, right? Because I have actually read a little bit on the history of economic development in the West insofar as it pertains to income and wealth inequality. This is where my Piketty knowledge comes in clutch. The last time this happened, the last time that the debt to GDP ratio exceeded 100% was immediately after World War II. That was the last time that America went into so much debt that it exceeded its entire gross domestic product. Was World War II. And that was because of the fucking massive, all-encompassing global economic turmoil that a world war implies, right? Now it's just, like, basically for the hell of it, right? Because of, like, speculation and that sort of shit. And God, who fucking knows what? The national debt gets so complicated so fast insofar as, like, what it's made of, but, like, a lot of it is subsidies given in the form of loans to like the private sector. A lot of it is in terms of like underfunded social services, like money that the government owes the public, you know, like, oh yeah, you paid this in taxes, but like we're underfunding the snot out of all these public services, healthcare, education, and so forth. That's part of the national debt. That's a significant part of it. And a lot of it, because it is made up of loans, a lot of the national debt is also going to be wrapped up in the speculation cycle. You know, like how the buy, borrow, die cycle exists, where like you use the loan you took to leverage property to get another bigger loan, and like you endless money glitch type shit. It's a house of cards, and when the house of cards gets this transparently nonsensical, things start to break down. We're pretty close to a global financial house of cards collapsing. That's gonna make 2008 look like child's play. Like 2008 would be barely a blip on the radar comparing to the ensuing economic crash that could result from the fuel crisis, the AI bubble popping, and the American debt collapsing in on itself. America is not that far, potentially, from defaulting on its debt, being completely unable to pay it back. Especially because the government is now cooking the books, you know? Like the government, like, if the government is willing to cook the books and lie about how much money they have and how much capital is available to them, it's not a stretch to imagine that the Trump administration or a subsequent Republican administration, or hell, even a subsequent Democratic administration, given enough time and, you know, institutional decay, could simply say, yeah, we're not paying all that back, or try to gaslight them into saying, yeah, we actually never needed to pay that back, so we're deciding not to pay it back, and you should thank us, or something, right? And that would be it, essentially. Although at this point, it might not even take that sort of admission. I think, eventually there's going to be some recognition that like America is not an economic unit the same way it used to be. So basically, hope you guys are ready for some like for fucking economic, like, put it this way, we're about to enter economic circumstances so dire that it yields a whole crop of new people that will be well known to history in the same way that Adam Smith and the other Enlightenment thinkers were, because we're going to have to restructure the entire fucking economy after this, which is going to take some serious brain power. People might not know the background of some of the Enlightenment thinkers in the not 17th, 18th century. A lot of Europe, and particularly Britain and America, were going through actually economic crises at the time, particularly regarding grain production and distribution. There were food crises, food shortages happening in Europe at the time. That basically, like, the old feudal economic order was kind of ill-suited to meet. Like, the monarchies and the aristocracies of Europe were very ill-equipped to handle that sort of collapse, in part because they were like the systemic factors that led to the collapse in the first place. And we're watching, I think, some of the same things happen with the modern capital class. They, being the progenitors of the collapse of capitalism, are going to be so ill-suited to reconstruct the world after the fact, because they have no interest in doing so, that an entire new crop of thinkers proffering an entire new economic system is going to result. And, it may just be some what's old is new again type shit. It might be a return to social democracy. It might be socialism, both of which are known quantities since the 18th and 19th centuries, right? But, like, it's gonna be bad. Like, the closest analog would be the Great Depression. The crise, la crise générale économique. La crise économique générale? Which, okay, fuck. My French knowledge is actually slipping. Yes, okay, it would be la crise économique générale. The Great Depression is only known in English-speaking countries as the Great Depression. In France, which was like the international language at the time, which was reflected actually in English language literature from people like Albert Einstein, they referred to it as the general economic crisis. La crise économique générale. They're like truly. There was, in a purely capitalistic market framework where the only incentives are acquisition, speculation, accumulation of capital, there was truly no coming back from the Great Depression. FDR had to break the rules. He had to break a lot of rules, which is why so many people at the time hated him, because he was like, I'm not going to let this country die, and you are not going to stop me from saving it. And a lot of wealthy people wanted to stop him from saving it because they wanted to scoop things up on the cheap. We're gonna walk into that same shit again. Like, the country is going to be dying. Somebody's gonna, or several somebodies are going to come along and try to develop a plan to save economics, essentially. And all the conservatives, all the business people are going to hate them for it. Yay, hooray. Fuck. It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck a lot. But like my political prescriptions have like remained pretty consistent throughout all this whole affair and shit. You know? Just do Great question mark ruins. That one's actually kind of fun. Which is like communism, essentially, like expropriation of the expropriators. The incentive structures just have to be changed, and they have to be changed away from profit for good, because you can't fucking run a global economic system based on competition and profit, because that system is like inherently hostile to society. Eventually that will always wind back up at this point. We've seen, like, this is the second time this has happened. Oh hey, my track got picked. I say fucking half a lap in already. Whoa, I'm getting bumped. Whee. Oh, they have inside drifts on the cart? Seems like they do. I actually think that inside drift is... Oh no, they're on outside drift. Interesting. Okay. I like legitimately, I think that inside drift on a cart is not as good as outside drift. Like inside drift and wheelies really go together, but outside drift works really well for carts because they have like the various... They have the various different levels of mini turbo. It's just better mechanically. It feels better. I say having some experience with carts in this game. Not a ton, but a decent amount. I'm thinking I'm seeing blue shells and shit behind me. I'm hallucinating. I know what I want to do with this green shell, and it's like devilish. It's that. Somebody's gonna... No, interesting. Mushroom? No. Oh, yes. Okay. They did have a mushroom. They just used it a little later than I was thinking. Okay. Well played. Well played. 11? Hell yeah. Sign me up. 11 players? Let's go. Holy shit. As of this past... To give you an idea of how big the national debt is. As of this past Tuesday, government debt held by the public is about 31.27 trillion. Meanwhile, U.S. nominal GDP from April to March... so like a 1 year period basically was 31.22 trillion. Sure. Switch to Rainbow Road. Interesting. I think this might be the first time I've played this one. Possibly. No, I think I've played it once. Because I kind of recognize this. Maybe. Ow. Okay. I think I'm okay with being in the back or the middle so that I get more of a chance. I'm not like as threatened as I would maybe otherwise be up front, so I get a chance to actually see what's going on in this track. Ooh. Okay, yeah, no, I have not played this one before. On, certainly not this, Wii interpretation. Ah, get me! Okay, that's impossible to make. Holy shit, what is going on there? The fuck? I have no idea how to navigate that section. I think that turn might just be too tight. I'm gonna chain this probably. Yeah. Seems like everybody's going this way, so I'm gonna trust that this way is like the way to go. Kind of want to chain this. Oh, did he fall off? Looks like they did. What the fuck? What is happening? I'm gonna just start zooming, try to catch up to some people. What's up? Okay, another cannon. Oh, this is road, kind of. You can, it's off-road, but you can drift on it to an extent. What is this? This is nutty looking. Whoa! What? This is crazy! This track is insane. Oh, what? This track is why I have no idea what's going on. Okay. Thank you, whoever used that shock. I guess. Stop bumping me. Ugh. And I think that's it. Yeah. Damn, what the fuck? What was that track? Ugh, that track needs some texture changes. I couldn't see shit. That track seriously needs the textures to be a lot smoother and flatter, because there was way too much like color grain and color contrast between all the different colors of the track and the walls for me to tell where the road was directing me to go. Ugh. Look, the concept is there. It just looks like shit. Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road is way the fuck better. Sure, fuck it. Bowser Castle 1. Hot Top Cruise? Sure. Yesterday, actually, I was watching a Melee tournament that I want to talk about a little bit because it was awesome. I watched Pat's House. Pat's House 5. Featuring Zane and Jmook and Rap Monster and Mookie and Aura and Kodorin and Hungrybox, various other Melee personalities such as that. And I didn't get to see very much of it. I just saw top 8, where apparently HBox did not make top 8 again, which is, you know, it is Jover for H-Goat enjoyers, but you know, he was fine with it. It seems like, especially given the outcome of the tournament elsewise, you know, absolute peak. So, you know, sure. It's always sad when somebody gets a placing that they're not happy with, and then their emotional and mental state reflects that. Like, come on, dude. You know, it doesn't feel good for the competitor themselves or for the person watching, because you should, like, if you're competing and you have the competitive spirit, I feel like in a way it is part of the competitive spirit, but also antithetical to the competitive spirit, that you need to know how to lose. You need to be able to lose, even to, like, a bad loss, to somebody that you're seeded to beat by a comfortable margin or whatever. And just be like, eh, whatever, I lost, I played like shit. You know, that doesn't feel good, but whatever. You know? And not to, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm sort of waxing poetic about that a little bit. But what I really want to get to is that top 8 of Pat's House 5 was absolute peak. Particularly for somebody like me. Rap Monster was Winners Finals. Okay, Winners Finals was between Zayn and Rat Monster. And so was Grand Finals, by the way. Zayn won the tournament. But the context to this, I like going into it, right? I was watching the top 8. And I was like, okay, Rat Monster and Zayn are on opposite sides of Winners semis, right? And Zayn actually beat the brakes off of Jmook. I think Jmook recognized towards the end that he was just like not playing good, which again doesn't feel good, but I think Jmook has like a healthier attitude than most towards his competitive presence. So it was like, it was a clinic on the Marth vs. Sheik matchup. I don't think I heard, okay, how you know Zayn was playing crispy? He was doing moonwalks and sticky walks and like that weren't just for show. He was doing the most flashy movement I've ever seen, but like actually to mix Jmook up to try to break his ankles. And I don't think I heard him miss a single wave dash. You know, in Melee, when you input a wave dash, there's a chance that you miss it. You're a little bit late. So you get the wave dash, but it's a little sloppy and you hear the air dodge sound. So you hear the or the or whatever from Fox, from Marth, from any of the other characters. I didn't hear a single air dodge sound when Zayn was wave dashing, which is hard to do when you're playing Melee for that long. With such a varied pattern of movement, Zayn was really on it. His move choice was on it too. He was really concerned with maximizing the amount of damage and position he got for himself in each interaction to like really make it scary to be next to him for the opponent, in this case Jmook. And I was like, man, I hope that this translates to the set with Rap Monster, because anybody who has seen my YouTube channel or remembers the Genesis live stream, you'll know that I fucking crashed out. Like, I started tweaking watching Zayn versus Rap Monster. I was like, Zayn's a bum in this matchup, which he was at the time. You know, kind of spoiling it, but like, he was doing all sorts of really, really dumb shit. He was like not playing grounded at all versus Luigi. And like he was doing so much forward air. He was doing panic options of all kinds of things. Like, it very evidently did not know what you're supposed to do in the Luigi matchup. And like a lot of my match analysis was actually validated by things that Mewtwo had to say. Mewtwo coached him. Shout outs to M2K. Same guy that actually, I have some funny stories to tell about, funnily enough. But this time Zayn came prepared. You know, this was not the floundering, constantly trying to do like forward air combos Zayn of Genesis. This was up tilt, up air, down tilt, you know, like forward throw and up air for positioning Zayn, right? Like, he was doing all the correct things to Luigi to make Luigi scared of him, because like Luigi has a lot of combo ability even on Marth, but Marth can kind of put the beats on Luigi if he feels like it, if he knows what he's doing. Zayn really worked the matchup knowledge on the edge guarding too, like not just on stage. You know, Zayn had a pretty solid control of neutral, which was something that was very lacking in their Genesis set. But then he also had a pretty good handle of things off stage. He wasn't recovering down. When Marth was put off stage, he was being really smart and trying to work around some of Luigi's best edge guarding options, that back air that stays out for fucking forever. You know, and he was consistently making it back to the stage, making it really difficult for Luigi to edge guard him. Which was not at all how the last few sets between them looked. And then when Luigi was off stage, he was so much more on it. He was still making mistakes, and there were some instances where I was actually like not happy with him kind of defaulting to his old game plan to an extent. But for the most part, he was really not overcomplicating it anymore off stage. He was just, okay, I'm going to wait for Luigi to spend his down B, and then you just grab the ledge, or like you down tilt, like easy enough, you know? Like, there is a very straightforward process of how you edge guard Luigi. His options are, you know, he can side B, he down B, he has his double jump, he has his up B. It's kind of linear once he gets to the stage where he has to burn the down B and the double jump, right? And so Zayn was so much better about waiting and then just grabbing the ledge and rolling up. And that netted him a lot of kills. And in fact, his game plan was consistent enough. His matchup discipline was good enough that he actually started making Rap Monster crack under the pressure. There were so many moments in the Genesis set where Rap Monster was cool as a cucumber and Zayn was cracking under the pressure. This time, Zayn just had all the stage presence. He had the movement. He was calmly walking across the stage, working the platforms with Luigi above him, trying to juggle him, making each hit kind of scary, which made Rap Monster actually mess up in a few critical moments. He was doing really bad down Bs. He was air dodging in a couple ways that actually got him killed a couple of times. And Zayn walked away from the winner set with not the most convincing, but like a 3-1 that I think is reflective of how much Zayn learned about the matchup. And then grand finals was, I think, a clean 30 clip. I think, you know, Rap Monster actually beat Moki in loser's bracket to make it to grand. And then Zayn just clean 3-0 in grand finals to win Pat's House 5. And I know that there's the phenomenon of Mickey Mouse win, right? Where like you get a really good bracket, like ideal bracket for you. You don't have to run into that many awkward opponents. I don't think Zayn had that this tournament. He had to face off against 2 or 3 at the very least in like the top 32 to top 8 sequence of things. He had to face off against some people that have given him trouble in the past, some people that might not be the biggest cakewalk from Arth. You know, Jmook has taken a fair few sets off of Zayn. I think at Nouns Invitational in late 2024, Jake kind of put beat the brakes off of him. And then obviously Rap Monster, like this is the fucking, like, this is the first time that Zayn has actually convincingly beat Rap Monster, I want to say, since that whole epoch started, right? Like overall, and I think Zayn actually, he won against Kadoran, the other like foremost Marth of the well, apart from, you know, you have Meds and Ossify, and then you have Kadoran, who doesn't, I don't think he's gone to much lately, but then, you know, Zayn beat Kadoran, I think, outside of top 8. Just, like, kind of showing off, like, yeah, okay, you know, everybody's settled down. Essentially, I think Zayn just had to wake up, and this was a demonstration of Zayn, like, waking up. Which is super important for him as, like, a competitor and stuff. And frankly, like, I have watched Zayn's come up from the first time, like, he made a major upset in beating Plup at Big House way back in the day. I think in, like, 2016 it was. You know, and then clawing his way to number 1, having to deal with, by the way, for the majority of his career, having to deal with the fucking Leffen Marth Fox's 60-40 discourse, you know, for until Leffen fucking stopped competing, and then, like, obviously we didn't hear much out of him after that. And now he's kind of reached a point where it's like he's reached the summit almost. Not in the sense that there's no more Melee to be played. Neither me nor Zayn believes that. But he got to a point where it was like, oh, for a while, the only people Zayn would really have to worry about are Cody Schwab and Hungrybox. And then, like, Wally at SmashCon the one time. But, like, you know, he looked like he had a solid plan to approach Melee, and he was at the point where he could just start better playering a lot of people. But then in comes Rap Monster, right? Somebody who has matchup specific experience against Marth and who plays a weird character, Luigi. And all of a sudden, Zayn couldn't just better player them anymore. It sort of woke Zayn up out of his slumber, and he was like, okay, you have to want it again. And I think that fire got reignited in Zayn. It's cool. It's cool to see, because I especially just got super mad that Zayn, as good a player as he was, did not know the Luigi match. I was like, how are you this good with Marth? You know, fighting against Cody Schwab, tearing through brackets, and you don't know the Luigi matchup. Rat Monster can't be the first Luigi he's fought in bracket either. Like, Zane has to have fought other Luigis in bracket. To have gone through all that and still not know such basic foundational shit about the Luigi matchup? It legitimately made me very frustrated, and there was such a satisfaction. It was like, finally, he fucking learned the Luigi matchup. And, you know, shout outs to Mewtwo King because that was Mewtwo King coaching. You know, Mewtwo King actually takes every matchup in the game very seriously. Even the really, like, shit-ass low-tier characters, you know? Because part of what makes a character low tier is that when you're taking the matchup seriously, it's light work. That doesn't mean it's no work at all. It's still work. You still gotta work for it. Against a character like Roy, against a character like DK, you can kind of get blown up. Roy can tech chase you into a forward smash at 50 and you can die, right? DK can juggle your ass for 80% and then kill you off the side, like relatively consistently. You know, they have their tricks, but you have to, they also have a lot of weaknesses, and you have to know how to exploit that. And if you don't know how to exploit that, you're gonna look kind of dumb. And feeling it could be a decade from now and you still be talking about Smash Brothers. That's because it has been a decade or more since I started playing Smash Brothers. My first Smash Bros. Game was Brawl back in 2013, I think. I saw the Runaway Guys, the old school YouTube lore, some of the oldest of the old school, the first generation of like Let's Players on YouTube. Chugga Conroy, Proton John, and Nintendo Capri Sun had a collab YouTube channel called The Runaway Guys, and they played Smash Bros. Brawl Subspace Emissary, and I was like, this game looks cool as hell. And my dad actually got it for me one time when he was like on a conference or something. And I started playing Brawl, was never very good at it, but then I was like, because even then, I was a serial modder. I loved modifying my games and shit. I was looking into like, oh, what kind of mods are there for Super Smash Bros. Brawl? And that's how I found Project M. Started playing Project M for about 6 months, something like that. And that's how I got introduced to Melee. And in early 2014 is when I started playing Melee. So it's been a good 12 years of me playing and paying attention to competitive Melee. So, you know, 10 years from now, as long as interesting things are still happening in the world of Smash Bros, I'll probably still be talking about it. I will, however, be pretty hesitant to watch tournaments live unless I can turn off the live chat. It was, not a great feeling tuning into Pat's house and everybody joking. Well, some people clearly joking, but then like every 10th mark being some transphobic bullshit. And I was like, okay, I don't need to watch this. But then I saw that Cody Schwab was restreaming it with Hungrybox, and I know that they're cool dudes and they're okay with the transes. You know, they're not gonna just fucking shit up chat with transphobic nonsense. So I was hanging out in Cody's chat the whole time. I really like the game of Super Smash Bros, but the more time goes on, the more I fucking hate the Smash community. You cannot escape politics? Yeah, I know. And you know what's funny is that I'm more aware of that than the players and the streamers are. Like, people, like, I don't know, it was weird. Like, politics as a dedicated topic has a way of, like, consuming a, has a way of consuming a live stream or a live stream chat, and that stuff is very interesting to me. I know how to navigate it because I have specific experience with that. But, like, it's very unfortunate to see, like, even people who I would consider smart, like HBox and Cody Schwab, not dumb people, you know? Cody Schwab has a highly analytical mind for Super Smash Bros. It's why I enjoy watching him so much. But, like, sometimes they have a hard time comprehending just how directly politics impacts everything and how everything's connected to these larger issues and systems of the social sciences, you know, that determine everything about our lives. Like, at one point they were talking about venue fees and the cost of entry and the price of going to and running a Super Smash Bros. Tournament. That shit is expensive. TOs do not make very much money, if any at all. A lot of them operate in the negative. And it's impossible to talk about stuff like that without mentioning politics, economics, sociology, urban planning, and so forth, right? Because if you're talking about cost, you have to talk about all the things that influence cost, what could be done about it, right? It's like, do you want this to change? Then this is what you should be looking at. But, you know, and I think there's, like, I'm not going, like, I would never in my right mind accuse them of, like, ignoring this, being aware of it and willfully ignoring it. But it's very clear that this is a blind spot. It's very clear that this is a blind spot for many people, because, like, you come into these discussions, right? These discussions come up, and I think about these things a lot. I read about these things a lot. So I have a ready-made answer, not ready-made, but, like, I have an answer and I can explain the issue relatively well. It's like, it's because of how fucking big parking lots are, how expensive it is to rent space, and how the entire economic system is geared towards profit. And so that's the metric by which everything is judged. But even ancillary to that is just that much more difficult to run an event where you're required to pay an entry fee or any sort of supporting fees, because discretionary income for people will be so low, because rent will be so high, and fuel prices are so, like, it is so expensive just to travel to one of these places. The thing that kills people is not the venue fee, it's the expenses associated with travel, but to talk about that would be to touch on politics. So a lot of them don't really, like, they don't touch on it at length. They'll mention it, but it's kind of like a background fixture that cannot be changed to them. And that's an unfortunate thing that pervades most, if not all, discussions that occur in, like, a Melee live stream, because it's not just the super silly stuff that gets talked about in a live stream chat, right? And for that reason, I think I'm always going to have, like, a relatively peripheral existence in the Smash community, because of, like, your average chud online who plays Melee being, like, casually transphobic, or actually there's no such thing as casually transphobic. They're competitively transphobic to the point of being mentally ill. My interaction with the community, the Melee community online, is going to be limited both by that and by the fact that, like, it doesn't seem like people are really prepared to talk about a lot of things that are relevant in the Melee community, but of course none of that is like an immutable quality or anything. At least I don't think it is. Some people who are more cynical than me may try to argue that the nature of man is stupidity or something. But stupidity is not like an innate quality. It's an antisocial quality. People are social creatures, and if you if you have a system that encourages education, critical thinking, and analyzing problems that are in front of you on the scales at which they apply, then, like, you won't always have this, but it's going to take a long time for that. So for the foreseeable future, like, legitimately, I don't think that it's particularly feasible for me to expect I'll be able to get super up close and personal again with the Melee community until I'm probably in my middle ages or golden years, which is sad to think about. But at the same time, I do know that there's going to be a Melee community when I'm that age. People are just, it's just that compelling of a game for people. No! Exactly the wrong item at exactly the wrong time. Ugh, whatever. Couldn't make up my mind there. I'm gonna have to go this way. Whatever. I should explain this to a person that thinks capitalism this good's traded for that other good. Yeah, imagine trying to explain anything to somebody who thinks capitalism is when trade happens. Like, it's genuinely quite blackpilling the level on which people operate sometimes. You know, like it's not so much the willful belief of this, but rather it's more the fish in water sort of problem, right? People who are so like used to existing within the system or whatever, like people who haven't taken an active interest in learning about the system in which they live and whatever, who haven't been looking at everything with a critical eye. They're just sort of used to it as a, like I said, a background fixture. It's like it's less so that they discount it actively. It's more so it just doesn't occur to them. You know, like for most people, it doesn't occur that like things haven't always been like this. Even though a shocking amount of the current system has only been the way that it is since like well after I was born, or like at most since the 80s. Yes, and the Democratic Party does actively try to blackpill people because the apathy is how they survive. Those consultant freaks. Tricking on that is slower than just mini turbo wheeling. And mini turbo wheeling actually also looks really cool. I did know about that. I was one of the I was an early adopter of that classic socialism moment. People lambast you for being right too early. You know, I used to get in arguments with liberals all the time back in like 2021 and 2 that the Democrats were losing on purpose. Even that, like, they would argue with me on this, even though Democrats had admitted in like party communiques that they would rather run people like Hillary Clinton and lose than run progressives like Bernie and win. That is like, they've admitted that openly for a shockingly long time. But still, liberals are like, no, they don't, they're like, they're not losing on purpose, which they are, you know? Oh, shit. Oh my god. Okay. Spared by the Mario Kart gods for now, kind of. I'm gonna start using this. I kind of assume that somebody might have the shock now, or if not now, they will have it soon. Oh no, that person just got messed up by 2 red shells. Ow, why'd you throw that backwards? Chalk it up to stream sniping and move on, whatever. It is what it is. That's part of what not being, like, obsessively competitive will do for you, is that, like, you get kind of passively annoyed for a second when somebody stream snipes you by throwing a bomb backwards, but since you're just in it for the love of the game, you don't actually care. It's like, sure, fine. I lose 1,000,000 VR, who the fuck cares? I can just boot up the game tomorrow and play again. Just as easily. Oh, yay, I dodged. Stream sniping in parentheses positive? Many are asking this. Many are asking this. Experts still aren't sure. I swear liberals, when they see far left, see a women child, when they see the Republican gentleman, that's just wrong on something. I think autocorrect butchered that sentence. But if the sentiment is like liberals see the far left as more of a threat than Republicans, then yes. Not your average liberal, mind you. Your average everyday liberal is significantly closer to the political position of somebody like me than they would be to like your average Republican. Your average Republican is an illiterate, semi-sapient cattle person who will vote for Trump ad infinitum because they believe it will bring suffering to the lives of liberals who they perceive as a malevolent, cuckolding force that has taken their child from them. When in reality, they're just a shitty human being and an abusive parent, right? The average liberal is like decently well educated and has at least some somewhat formed and informed political beliefs. You know, and the average liberal is more likely to agree with like a leftist. They're more likely to be like amicable to the political aims of socialists and communists and anarchists and whatever, to the extent that such people are serious about affecting political change. Where the real enemy is the neoliberals. Neoliberals are like entirely a creation of the consultant class and the internet and like political insider bullshit, right? You do not see hardly any neoliberals in real life. In fact, I've like yet to meet one, basically. I've met plenty of liberals. I have not met a neoliberal, like a dyed-in-the-wool neolib in real life. You know, such people are very rare. I say average liberal, I don't mean the average person. Yeah, and I've learned recently that I think it's both politically useful and serves an important like social function in defining your terms to distinguish between liberals and neoliberals. Because the more you investigate, like if you investigate neoliberalism as a set of ideas and set of political tendencies with an understanding going in of what like philosophical liberalism and enlightenment liberalism is, you find out that these people are have shockingly little resemblance to the Enlightenment lids. You know? With the sole exception, I think, which I've talked about on stream before, being property rights. Like, the only similarity between regular-ass liberals and, like, neoliberals is their belief in property rights. And neoliberals take that to an absolutely extreme, like, completely untenable degree, where they view property rights as the sole end to which life exists for, and they see them as like this absolute political ideal, which is why you get the fucking high-speed rail projects that go 400% over budget, take 30 years, and are stopped like easily by one fuck-ass farmer in the Central Valley, saying like, yeah, it would ruin the natural beauty of the region, parentheses, my 2-acre plot of land, so don't do it, or something, you know? Remember when they tried to give someone the death penalty for burning a lot of toilet paper? Did they try to give that guy the death penalty? I'm not up to speed on that incident, actually. Where was this? Faces federal and state charges. Interesting. Oh yeah, I did watch that video that you recommended to me about the farmers that brought in those toads and destroyed the whole fucking environment in Australia. Yes, farmers are a scourge on the human race, and I hate them. I hate them. Good video. Yeah, farmers are the fucking bane of political progress in all the countries that they inhabit. In America, and Canada, and Australia, and Europe. It's bad. It's bad. You know? Especially because when, like, keep in mind, too, when we say farmers, we're not referring to the people that work the fields. Those aren't the farmers. Those are the farm hands. Those are the people who earn a yearly salary or like hourly wage or monthly wage if you're European, and toil for fucking 8 hours or sometimes longer in the fields, like actually, you know, sowing, reaping, using farm equipment and that sort of thing. The farmers are the people that own these massive fucking estates, dress like, you know, LARP as though they're the honest everyday working man, make fucking 6 figures at the very least, and work maybe 15 to 20 hours a week. You know? Which, by the way, we should all be so lucky. I'm a proponent of like the 15 to 20 hour work week, right? Because that's like, that's feasible. We can do that. We should do that. you know? But like, yeah, they live in a just a completely different economic position than what the image that they've constructed would have you believe. And they've been very meticulous about constructing that image of themselves to begin with, because it's PR. It's PR for them. So understand, when we're talking about farmers, when I'm saying I hate farmers, these are not the people who work the farms. The people who work the farms are not the farmers. They are the farm hands. They're the farm laborers, you know? Yeah, farmers, like, legitimately, farmers are one of the biggest blocks of, like, or I don't know if it's, like, one of the biggest, but there's certainly a very large block of political support that has been galvanized both in the current era and in past eras for far-right parties around the world. You know? They're the backbone of the Republicans, the Rassemblement National, the AFD, and like all the other usual suspects today, and they were the backbone of the Nazi Party in the 1930s. Yes, they do so love to also wear a cloak of virtue signaling, much like a skinwalker wears the flesh of a human to appear like one of us, and then their real ambitions revealed. They're like politically cannibalistic in that they want to like strip the country for parts because it would make you upset. Not even because it would like benefit them, because it would make you upset, you know? It's so fucking psychosexual. Like, I genuinely don't know how they don't like get embarrassed by their political beliefs to the extent they have. Well, I guess I do know, because they're just completely self-unaware. But yeah. Obligatory farmers are evil diatribe. Except for Astral Flick and what's his name? Kowalski from the Nebraska. The only two good farmers in America. Until I see proof of more, that those are the only two that exist to me. Thank you. I think this will be my last race, probably. These streams are always like a pretty good test of how my voice holds up. Not just in terms of like speaking for a long time, putting like actual strain on your voice to begin with, but also because it's like a good benchmark for how well I am doing in my voice training. Basically, I get to try to sound like a girl is what I'm saying. Because, you know, that's important to me. What? I keep bouncing around. Was he? Okay, he was not in a star. Dragonite's just yellow, so I have a hard time fucking discerning anything. Be careful on the lip of the stage like that. The lip of the track. Barely got that item box. Purple greens, okay. I'll just around. Somebody can have that mushroom. Yeah. I'm not even gonna green shell you, because I think it's more fun if I just let you have that mushroom. Sorry, Daisy. I you know, I guess that's par for the course, right? Like, you know, part of the social contract or whatever that you kind of agree to in Mario Kart when you play the games. You're liable to get BTFO'd. Right, get rid of that. Use this. Cool. My last race, so I am. Oh no! I am kind of treating it just like a more of a leisurely drive. Whee. Ah! That scared me. Just wheelie here, don't trick. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Don't pass too many people, because I need a box. Here we go. Perfect. That's very nice. Thank you. 5th place. 4th? 4th place? 5th place? I don't know. I don't know. How'd you feel if after you played this reveal your opponents were racing? All the opponents you were racing against were AI and not people. I wouldn't be very happy about it. I'd be kind of upset. I honest to God, I think I would be kind of upset if all the opponents in the game were not real people. Thankfully, I do have verification that they are real people because I'm in the Discord server with them. And I have messaged them on occasion, so. And I recognize some of the people I race against from time to time, and some of them have even been my stream chat. It's been quite a while, but I've had such friendly faces as Grantham, Xylan, of course, and God, there's a few others who I'm sorry I'm blanking on the names, and even ZPL themselves has been here on occasion. Then also I forget their name, but they used to be called King Alex. So, what a good stream. Kind of funny, but an assumption is required for fun sometimes. Well, you don't like getting lied to? Yeah, I don't like getting lied to. And AI itself is an ersatz. It is itself a lie. You know, like the character of AI, generative AI, large language models, whatever, it is an imitation of a process. It is the automation of that process. It's mental apathy, or rather mental entropy, right? Large language models is a ersatz of speech. It's an ersatz of writing. It deprives you of the process of putting your thoughts to words, or, you know, reading those words, whatever, right? Whatever the case may be. The art of conversation, right? Or, you know, image generation is an attempt to automate the process of drawing or photography, right? It's the death of art because the art is the process and it's attempting to kill the process. If that makes sense. You know? Like I just explained, I'm not outcome driven in this game. In fact, I think that's a pretty poor way to look at something that you do for fun, right? Like, I don't care if I win like it makes me feel funny and superior for a hot minute if I do, but like, the race is the thing that I'm interested in. Part of what makes that fun is that I'm racing against other people who have somewhat of the same objective as to race and to drive as well as they can. Many of them to win, but, you know. Yeah, I'd be pretty upset if it were revealed like none of these people were real, it was all AI, because I was in it for the process. I was in it for the fun of driving with other people on the race course. And I don't like the feeling of that being deprived from me, you know. It's its own kind of socialization, as antisocial as it can sometimes be, per my video about getting Mario Karted explained. You know? Especially because there's like a range of expressions in the game that you can do sometimes. Anyways. Just your average Y2K live stream. Getting real deep with it on a Monday afternoon. Anywho. I am going to raid. Maybe I'll raid this on? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'll raid this on. it sounds kind of unfortunate, but on a certain level, I've kind of given up on the prospect of channel growth because it's a lottery, it's luck. So I mostly just raid like Hassan or Cody Schwab when they're live. So in fact, quite a few people, like, to the extent that I stream Melee, there's almost like a one-to-one overlap between my chat and Cody Schwab's chat. Insofar as, like, anybody who watches my Melee streams is usually a regular Cody Schwab viewer. Which is pretty funny. But nonetheless, he's not live right now, so Hassan it is. Him and HBox were getting pretty toasted yesterday. Anyways... try to be back soon. I enjoy I kind of forgot how much I enjoyed streaming, I'll be honest, and you know, kind of want to do it again, but we'll see. We'll see if there's enough for me to talk about. So, see ya.